Hey there, welcome to Studio Visitor, the podcast about European music studios talking gear, philosophy and history. In this episode, I travel to Belgium, Antwerp, where I meet the people behind Rockstar Recordings. They had an incredible story to tell about how they created and developed their own Neve-style console and a lot of other things that are worth mentioning. This is yet another day, another story to tell. My name is David Jones, I'm the Studio Visitor. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So, if you're ready,
We are ready. Yes, we're ready.
Really?
Yes.
Welcome to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. This is David Jones, Studio Visitor. I'm at Rockstar Recordings in Belgium. Next to me is Gerard and Jurgen.
Yes.
Welcome to the channel, you both. Having a great day?
Yes.
Yes.
You told me you have been into live techniques, but someday you woke up and you said to your wife, "I'm gonna start a studio," or that's not that was
For the beginning, I have no wife, so it was my own decision. Okay, it was not from one day to another. It was a
graduate process.
Yes.
And what made you decide to start a studio?
Different things. At the beginning, I realized that live PA is not something that you can do until you are 60 years and more, because your back starts hurting and all that kind of stuff. And secondly, I was always interested in acoustics and electronics, and that's therefore I started the studio. It was never my purpose to get behind the desk myself, because I'm not a musician. I'm more a
Technician.
Technician, yes.
But technician, not behind the desk. Did you have any plan at all when you started? Because the facility itself.
No. I had never the plan to sit behind the mixing desk. That was not my plan. No. But I realized that I have not the right skills to do that, because in my opinion, to run a studio, I mean, to mix in a studio, you have to be a musician, and I'm not a musician. So
it doesn't have to be necessary a musician.
Yeah,
I'm also not a musician, but I'm quite a good technician.
Yeah, but I think in the past it was different. You always have a producer and you have a technician.
Yeah.
And now the problem is the clients, they came in the studio and they want that you can do anything. They want you that you can tune drums, that you can, if they don't sing right, you have to say in what key they have to sing and everything, and that's not my not my skill, you know. That's not what I can do. But I don't mind. For me, I'm very interested in the technical stuff, in the acoustics, and there's also I have 3 studios, so there is a lot of maintenance to do. So it's not possible, I think, for one person to do everything.
Okay. What is possible to do for one person?
I think just mixing and working with the clients, but you have to have other person who do the maintenance and everything, and you have to also to do a lot of bookkeeping and other stuff.
Yeah.
But that's.
How long is your studio open now?
It's a little bit more than 10 years it's open.
In your, as we spoke before, you're one of the last big facilities in Belgium.
Yeah, I think so. At the moment that I'm maybe 4 or 5 big studios in Belgium.
But the biggest declared bankruptcy we talked about.
Yes.
It's a shame to hear Galaxy Studios is declared bankruptcy. It really is a shame. I cannot say anything else about it. You?
Yeah, it's an evolution. It's
Sure. Everything is an evolution.
Yeah. I think you have to be more than a studio at this point. Sometimes I feel more like a rental guy who rents a nice room to do some videos. Sometimes I just rent a studio for doing videos. The people, they're recording at home, but they want a nice video clip, and then they come here. Yeah, that's
Does it matter to you?
At the beginning, it was not fun, but now, I mean, I do everything something else, and I see film camera crews coming in. Sometimes Red Bull come here, and there's always something going on, something different. That's no.
When you started, this console was not there.
No, we built the console ourselves. It's another story. Yeah.
That's another story. We're going to get that later to Jurgen.
Yes.
Jurgen is the technician of the console. But what kind of console did you have before?
In the other room we have, it is still there. It's a SSL 4000 G+. I bought it about 15 years ago. Second hand, of course. Yes.
New, the price tag new. That's a bit the problem with big studios in general. The cost of maintenance, the cost of buying stuff, pretty high. You think so, or?
Yes, but I'm not. And now I'm talking a little bit against my own studio. You don't need all that kind of stuff to make a good record. When I started in the other studio, it was a time. It was just an overgang. You know, when
Transition.
the transition. Yeah, there was a transition. When I just bought the SSL, there are people still mixing on the console. But after a few years, it's more, you know, for the YouTube to make some nice pictures. At the moment, it's not used as a mixing desk anymore.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but that's also the transition. It's a shame, but yeah.
It's also reality.
Yeah. You have to.
People are mixing more and more in the box, and I can understand that.
But now, since a few years, I see some younger guys. They know the SSL from the plugins, and they say, "Oh, they came in my studio." And they say, "Oh yeah, you have a real SSL," and they book it just to do a mix because they want to experience the live analog feeling. It's something completely different.
To you, the plugins of SSL themselves and the console itself, can you compare them?
I cannot say that. I think it's. I don't want to. I mean, I have an opinion about that because I didn't compare it, but many people say they don't hear the difference. But I think it's not about the sound; it's more about the experience of the mix. That's therefore you use an analog console. I think it's the workflow. What I hear from my clients, they say if I do the mix here on the console, it goes much faster.
True that, because it's hands-on.
Yeah. And also,
literally, I can with my left hand tune every channel blindfolded.
And also, what I hear from my clients, if they mix on the console, they mix with their ears, and if they mix with the plugin, they mix with their eyes, and that's something different. I think it's.
What do you think is better, mixing with ears or mixing with eyes?
With the eye, with the ears, of course. That's my opinion. That's
true.
I mean, I don't want to generalize or say something bad about younger guys, but that's what I often see, that they're always looking at their screen, but they don't listen what they are doing. That's also in the live. I see this sometimes. I go to a live because I still have some speakers and I do some live gigs a few years, and I see the younger guys coming in and all they have smoke and they don't listen. They are just the meter and yeah. For me, it's always a combination with the meter and your ears, but not only the meter. That's my
From
opinion.
the perspective of the technician, ears or eyes?
Ears.
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely.
I mean, it's also because you need both things. If I make gear, for example, then I always check with my meter if the noise and stuff is good. But we also test it with our ears. Does it sound good? It needs both.
Do you're the one that designed and built the console behind me?
Designed and we build it together, but
Yeah, okay. But it's an amazing console, and
thanks.
did you take the original schematics or you adjusted them?
Well, we used the original schematics for the preamp and the EQ section, and we added our own circuits to make it more useful in a modern studio environment. So we can use it more like a tracking console, it's inline also.
Yeah.
So a normal Neve from around when those preamps were used is not inline. So
It was a split console.
it's a split console. So that's why we used some extra circuitry, and we made that circuitry as transparent as possible. So we still have the normal Neve sound in it. That's why.
You're addicted to Neve sound?
I like it, but there's one thing we do different, and there's a lot of discussion going on there, but in my opinion, and from a technical point, we don't use tantalum capacitors.
Why not?
Because they distort in not so good way, I think.
In what range? Low, mid?
More the high mid to high.
Okay.
So it sounds more harsh if you use them. Around the time they used them because normal electrolytics were not that good. But nowadays we have good electrolytics, so we can use them.
Yeah.
And the second thing is for if a tantalum goes bad, it goes up in smoke and in flames, and it can really damage other stuff.
Through that, the circuit board can be.
Yeah, it can really melt down the circuit board, and that's why we don't want to use them, because it needs to stay working as long as possible.
So, behind me in the console, Panasonic or Nichicon?
It's Panasonic FC caps.
Oh,
And for the electrolytics, and for the tone and the EQs we use Wima capacitors.
yeah, but that's non.
Non electrolytic. Yes.
Yeah. What do you design more than and build more than only this console?
We have our compressors. We have 1167. It's 676. Sorry.
Okay.
Compressors. We have our own take on that. We also build a Neve-inspired compressor, the 2254, I think it
Really?
was. Yeah, it's also in the console. We have one. We're now building a parametric EQ based on Neve preamp for mastering purposes. Help me out. We have a lot. We also build microphones. We're busy with that.
It's not really building; it's more assembling.
Assembling, yes.
The other thing, we really built everything from scratch with the microphone.
The microphone is more assembling.
Basically, a kit that we.
Yeah,
It's not exactly a kit, but the body.
We buy, but the components we choose which components we use to make everything fit together.
Same brand as the console.
It depends what we need from, because it's different values and it's tube based. So, but many same brands, yes.
If there's one thing you would change about the console behind me, what would it be?
What would it be?
To be honest, this is our first console.
Yes.
It has some faults in it.
It has some small, little. One thing I would make the faders modules that are now more modular, like we did in our second console. And also I would make the aux like real modular. That's the difference I would do, because now all the channels are completely modular. But the faders and the aux are also a module, but in 8.
Pack of 8.
A pack of 8. And I would make them completely modular now.
In the other console we built for the number 9 studios in Gent, we also used VCAs.
Yes, because there is a problem with the faders, like Penny and Giles doesn't produce faders anymore, especially the logarithmic were the first to go.
Yeah.
So we only had linear faders. But
that's not what you want.
No. But if you use a VCA, you can use them to control it like logarithmic.
Yeah.
Because the VCA does that. So yeah, that's why we use the VCA. It also gives the opportunity to, if needed, we could make VCA groups, of course, like in an SSL. So it gets more versatile.
Maintenance of all the gear in an era where digital audio is consumed like garbage. How do you do that?
We try to make our gear that it doesn't need that much maintenance, actually. that's our goal.
That was in the first.
Yeah.
The why we start building ourselves, because I don't want to say anything negative about other brands, but the problem is a little bit, the budgets they are going down, and also the other big companies they have to bring their prices down.
In the past, they designed something, and no matter what it costs, Avalon still does. But nowadays, products are designed, and they take in account. Can we skip this because then we
actually they wanted to only last for like 5 years or something. Modern stuff is only designed for that. Now we designed this actually to be more like 40 years, and okay, if something breaks down in 20 years, or it should be easily fixable.
Okay,
that's why you wanted to build it. I'm against throwing things away. So that's no, it's not really like for a company you would say you would be mad, because many companies, if you only go 5 years you can sell more and more, but that's not the thing we wanted to do. We wanted to make something that our customer is happy for at least 20 to 40 years.
And bought another one. That's the main purpose is that we build something that the customer is happy about.
Yes,
and it's not cheap, to be honest. It's not cheap, but
you only have to buy once.
Yeah, he buy one, and I say okay, it's good, and he buys another, and
and then we can make different things. But you only need to buy a preamp. For example, if you need a preamp, you can buy it from us, and you will be sure it will be at least 20 to 40 years. It will be still working. Now, if you need something different, like a compressor, you can buy a compressor. But if you buy it for your lifetime. Actually.
Yeah, that's
the idea.
That's the
everything
idea.
can break down, but
sure.
if it breaks down, it's easily fixable.
Yeah, but it can break down. Depends also how you treat your equipment.
Okay, if you take some cola and you put it on there, okay.
No switch or no potential meter. You can last forever.
No, that's true, but that's why we build our gear to make it serviceable.
The problem is most of the gear nowadays is also everything is on the PCB. So also the potentiometers are on the PCB. Yeah. If you buy one of our preamps, the potentiometer is not on the PCB. So the problem is with the newer gear, if the potmeter is broken,
you need
exact the same.
Because otherwise it won't fit on the PCB.
It won't fit. But this, maybe in 20 years you cannot find exactly the same, but because it's not on the PCB, it's with wires. You can put another potentiometer in it. That's one of the big difference, But of course, it's much more work.
It's intensive to put it together.
Because you have to. Otherwise, you put the potentiometer, put it on the PCB, you will solder it, and it's ready.
Now you have to make wires and solder the wires, and it takes longer.
It's more like it was built 40 years ago. But if you put a real Neve, it was also with wires, with everything.
It's can, like the same kind of build, like indeed with separate wires and stuff like that.
Okay. Talking about of the past, your SSL console, how many repairs did you have? Because that is a console from late 70s, early 80s.
To be honest, I was lucky. I bought a good one, but you always have to be a little bit luck with that. But there's one thing I can say for sure. I have the newer one, the G plus, and you have the G, and you have also the E. But there is a big difference in my opinion, and the problem is with the older. I have 8 channels of the older. They are different capacitors.
They leak
like hell.
Hell, yes.
That's a problem. Yeah. And now I discovered a few months ago I had some problems with the master bus, the master section, the master section, and they use a few of those same capacitors, and they also start leaking.
Yes.
So that's the big difference between the older, that can I say, and the newer. And to be honest, the newer I don't have that much problem.
Actually, not really.
No.
Now in the mid section, those with the caps we have like 2 months ago or stuff like that. Was it? But for
But
the rest,
the problem is with the capacitors, there are two possibilities. They can dry out,
Yeah.
and when they dry out, the main thing you have that the sound will go down. You don't have
The high end
yeah
will be,
yeah it's going
high
to
end
be
and low end.
yeah in the low end because the capacity go down and you don't have enough energy to the low will not transform to the other you get a low cut. That's what you basically cut. But that's not a problem for the console itself, just the sound. But the worst thing that can happen is when the capacitor starts leaking and the acid from the capacitor go on the PCB and it literally eats up your console.
That's really destructive.
Yeah, that's really destructive. And that's a problem with the older. I bought a few channels. I don't say where I'm going to buy it because I don't. No, okay, but it was a famous company, but I don't say it. And they fixed it. It was okay. They were fixed, okay. But they don't change the capacitors, and the capacitors they don't change. They put new in, but they don't clean it. You know, it's very important. If you have a leaking capacitor, you solder, you take it out, but then you have to clean everything because the acid is still on the PCB. And it will literally eat up everything.
Also, they only replaced the caps that were defective, and all the rest they let it sit in there.
Yeah,
that's.
I once modified a Soundcraft Ghost mixer, and they were all cheap. I don't know the brand anymore. All cheap capacitors. So I started modifying the master section at first. It was day and night difference. Also with Panasonic FC.
The Panasonics are quite good. They're transparent. They don't color the sound.
No, not at all.
Now, what they did before, like they had used a cap, and they put a non-polarized cap over it, parallel.
Yeah.
For the high end. Now, with I've noticed with the FC, Panasonic FC, it's not needed. I think.
No. The same goes with Vactrols in optical compressor. Yes. You can also parallel them to grab more.
Yeah, to have a smaller resistance, so you have more range actually.
Yeah, more range.
That's true.
I did that to my Pro VLA, and well.
You can parallel, but you can also do it with VCAs, for example. You can parallel.
I never knew that.
That's how they do in the SSLs. Because
the parallel boards before.
Yes, because the originals, the cans, you can't find them anymore. No. So now they use the TAT VCAs, and actually they are good enough. If you use only one, but the first generation of those ICs, those chips,
2180.
The first generations were noisy, but no, it was not 2180. That are the newer generations. The 2150 or something like that.
Oh, really? That old?
Yeah, the older ones. They used them to replace the cans, but you need to use 4 because otherwise it was too noisy.
I remember they were printed in this really famous compressor SSL 3630.
Yeah.
There was a modification. Still on the internet. The first thing they said. Replace them with 2180s.
2180s are good. They're really good. They use them for hi-fi. They use it for a lot of stuff. They use them for VCA compressors a lot. Yeah.
There's DIY stores that sell boards for having 4 2180s into one socket.
I know. But I don't think that's really needed actually.
No?
No. For a 2150, yes. But for the 2180, if you look up the specs and you test them, they are really good. I mean, and you have 3 types. You have the A, B, and C type.
Yeah.
So if you use A type, it's quite good.
We're talking about changing electronics, but the biggest change is in studio culture in general. For the past 10 years, what did change the most?
I think the workflow.
To you? Yes, the workflow indeed. And I think also music is more like disposable because of the streaming. It's nice to have streaming like Spotify and stuff like that, but on the other hand, it makes music disposable.
There's a guy on YouTube, and his name is David Gnozzi, and his channel is Mixbus TV. And I love this guy. He said there's so many good music on Spotify, but there's the biggest amount of that music sounds like garbage because it's badly mixed or badly produced, badly mastered.
And I think it also comes because they now started doing some things like mixing with algorithms. Like if you they look like what they like.
Yeah, isotope plugins.
No, not only that, but they look on Spotify, for example. They look on what is mostly listened to, and music gets produced to sell.
Yeah.
So they see, okay, for example, the
So you open up a song with a chorus?
yeah, because many people listen for only 30 seconds and go to the next song. So that's why you put the chorus first.
That's a good one.
that's the thing. What happens with seeing with algorithms, what is mostly listened to, and they make music so people would listen to it, and many good music ideas get are made like garbage because of this, I think.
Should you still use a console in 2024 or in the box good enough?
I have clients, they still want to record on a console because of the workflow. Because
to me, it's not only about the workflow. I was in Portugal, in Porto, Claudia from Rangel Studios, and she made me listen to her products. And the first thing I heard was preamps. And you can record with a very good sound card, a decent sound card, or a bass, whatever. But to me, the difference is the use of preamps that makes the growling in the sound.
In theory, you can have these preamps in separate preamps in a rack. So
yeah, sure.
So if you just do record, you don't need the summing. You just
True that, and summing is not necessary anymore.
That's what they do when they come here and they have direct outs and they just they record through the preamps, and most of the time, 90% of the time they do the mixing at home. There is no money anymore to mix in a studio.
But the only thing they do use is indeed the preamps and sometimes the recording of the EQ section also.
Yeah.
Because it has, if you boost the highs, it doesn't sound harsh.
A specific flavor.
Yeah, you can really boost it, and it keeps sounding like satin soft. It doesn't sound harsh. But many plugins or many simple EQs, if you boost highs, it starts to sound harsh really fast.
That, to me, that is the biggest difference between tracking. In this case, we're talking about tracking digital or tracking analog.
That's true. It's indeed.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest.
That's what I said. You don't need, especially the console, if you have the channel strip.
You can use it.
You can do a lot.
You need just good channel strips. That's all you need.
Just good channel strips.
How many channel strips, in your opinion, should you need?
I think less is more sometimes. But I have more like an older vision. But many times I see people like putting 3 microphones on kick, on 2 on snare, 3, and I think like if all those microphones are in the same room, they will all record something. And if you put it all together, I think
it's gonna bleed.
It's gonna bleed. So
it depends what kind of music. I mean, if you
can start gating and stuff like that, but it's gonna bleed somehow.
If you do jazz, it's more natural, less microphones. But if you do rock,
If you have a good location, you can just record with 2 microphones. Really nice things.
I think so. The funny thing is, when I mix in the box and I send it out to the mastering engineer to take a listen, what can I do to improve? He always says, it's too loud. Yeah, then I say, it's in the box, you know what I do. Because afterwards, they call it the Tennessee trick. Out of the mix bus into an API preamp, just not drive it crazy.
But you probably drive the transformer a little bit. Yeah, that's why you get a boldier sound.
I think that's the big difference between a normal modern preamp and the older is the transformers. I think that's what makes the sound a little bit. It does something with the transients,
It makes it a little bit softer at some points, I think. But the sound is with different transformers can be really, really different also. I think that's one of the keys to have a nice sounding unit.
To you. And to you. First you. Tube of transformers.
Transformers.
I would say first transformers, and tube is not that important.
No.
Why it's not important?
I think the transformers color give more color than an amplification stage.
Yeah, because
You can even use a transformer with op amps.
I think it's a little bit a misconception that a tube always color, because you can make it very clean also if you take yeah, I'm not in the hi-fi, but some guys in the hi-fi they want tubes because yeah,
It's also nice to look at it.
I
do have a tube.
Not only that, but they say their idea is that the tube has a very low different component, so it's very minimalistic.
Yeah,
and it
they
doesn't
see
color.
these amplifiers with these tubes.
It's
and stuff,
nice.
yeah.
It's nice. I mean, I have built tube amplifiers. I have a tube amplifier. And it's nice to listen to, and it can color the sound. But the most of the color comes from transformers used in the output stage from a tube amplifier.
But then again, you need to drive it a little bit more.
The difference is also that a tube has more headroom
Really?
because the voltage is a lot higher.
Yeah, sure.
If, for example, most tubes for preamps run on 200 to 300 volts,
Yeah.
and Neve runs on 24 volts.
And
Okay, impedance is different output transformer, but still, for transients, a tube has more headroom.
I can imagine, but a tube is a slower kind of transient. Than,
Not really so, because one of the latest things where tubes were still used, before they really got outphased in the industry, in the big industry,
yeah,
was for high frequency applications,
yeah.
for RF transmitters and stuff like that. Actually, a tube is quite fast.
Didn't know that.
But when transistors took over, one of the biggest issues was they weren't that good, the first transistors, in high frequency.
Other question for you both: VCA or FET compression?
Depends on what you want.
Yes.
Depends on what you need. Like a FET has a little bit sort of color, and a VCA is really transparent.
Yeah, but can be quite aggressive.
Can be quite thumping also, a VCA. And FET can also, it depends. For a voice, I would say FET. For a vocal.
I mostly use them after each other in the tape. First FET compression to slice off the peaks. After that you color it, and to top it off, there's a VCA compression, but not wild.
Yes, because if you use it a lot, VCA starts to get a lot of aggressive, because it's
then it will not distort over there, but because the signal is too loud,
yeah,
the rest of your chin will distort.
Personally, if you use it on a track, on a complete track, I would go for a vary.
I got one.
Because that sounds really, you can really drive it, and it still keeps. But one thing that comes, for example, Varimio comes in the same league as sound-wise, is a diode compressor.
Yeah, but that's a type of coloring I'm not always like.
It depends, but it's in the same sound-wise.
Yeah, but the Varimio is like you slam it with 20 dB of compression, 30 dB of compression, you still don't.
Yeah, but the Neve diode compressor, you can also do that. The 2254.
Oh, the 54.
Is a diode compressor, and you can also slam it, and it still sounds quite acceptable.
I thought you meant the 33609.
It's almost the same, but the difference is in the 33609 there are less transformers. I like the 22454 a lot more.
I can imagine.
It has more color because of the transformers.
Yeah. Plans for the future?
Yeah, we have a lot of plans.
Ideas and plans.
A lot of plans, but no time. That's
the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Goals for the future that you really want to achieve?
Yeah. First of all, we want to second piano in the studio. This one goes to the other, and we want a new.
What kind of piano do you need? A grand piano?
Yes,
what kind of grand piano are you looking for?
The Steinway D.
D.
Yes.
Mandatory? Does it have to be a D?
Yes, it's always the clients they demand it.
Yeah. Yamaha C7 won't do.
It's what they want. Yeah, that's the experience you have. I have now. I have a very good. It's a Yamaha CF. It's a grand concert, but some guys, yeah,
Why not a B?
it's big. It's bigger. It's a bit.
Bigger is better.
Okay.
I mean, now, I mean, yeah, I'm just for that kind of decisions. I always listen to my clients, and that's.
Steinway D. Not a Bösendorfer?
I think it's too dark. I think.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's good kind of color you
I
really
think
have
it's
to
more
like.
for classical music.
Yeah. Bösendorfer D120. VB Soriardi, the famous Dutch piano player, plays on it. Like you said, for classical music is an icon, but the pop music, yeah, it should be a Steinway.
I mean, studio. It's yeah. You have to buy the equipment also for your clients, not for yourself. It's like a Neumann microphone.
U87.
There are a lot of good microphone, but yeah, the clients they always grab to the Neumann because that's what they know. I don't say it's one of the best, but there are other good microphones.
Sure.
But always they go for the Neumann.
If you would buy in this era, if you would buy something for yourself, what would it be?
Yeah, personally, but that's it's just a hobby. I like tape machines, but yeah, it's. I have a few tape machines, but it's just for me. It's a hobby, you know.
Okay. But for daily use.
But at the moment, I think we are settled. I think we have the most important thing we need. We do have just the piano. That's where we're looking for at the moment.
And you?
Yeah.
You would buy something for your own interest.
For my own interest, I think I would do something with an analog synth, but I don't have the time for it now. So
Would you play it?
yeah, I would play it. Yeah, for my home hobby. Yeah.
Okay, home hobby. But for here in the studio?
No, I don't play in the studio for some. Oh, it's not really needed because if they want to do something like that, they just use a plugin also.
Yeah, but yeah, then again, the racks are filled with.
Yeah, it's quite full.
But also with great stuff. I mean, 1176, mainly Foxbox, your own preamps, Focusrite, whatever. I think the playground is fulfilled.
Yeah, the only thing we probably would be some new preamps with more EQ options, because the second console we built, we used the 1084 preamp or the 1073 preamp. It's almost the same, but we upgraded the EQ section with more options. So that will
Now
be
you gotta explain something. 1073, 1084, almost the same.
almost the same.
The preamp is the same, but the EQ section is different.
The preamps are the same circuits. The EQ section is different, and the output stage has a little bit different gain, because they changed a little bit gain stage, but not much.
Is there anything left to say? You want to say for the viewers a message or whatever? Come record over here.
Don't use too much compression.
No, I think it's just important for the client that they go to a studio where they feel well.
Yes.
I think, again, I'm talking against the studio. I think it's more important to relax the client than have a high-tech studio with every best of the best. If the client is if the singer is yeah, he feels good, then he will perform good.
Patrick of Tidal Wave said the same thing. He has a studio in Germany. I visited him. I'll link the video up in the description. And he said, yeah, some to the point where guys coming in, he has grandma lamps, the old lamps in the studio, and they didn't like it. They want to be on the Concord floor, so they declined his studio, only because of the feel.
I think the most important thing is still the performer. It's
I think that's most of the time overlooked today, because some we will record and we will adjust it when we mix it, and they then put on some autotune and stuff like that. But it begins with indeed the performance. If you have a good singer, a good piano player, a good drummer that plays in exact rhythm
Timing.
and in timing, and if you have like a violin or stuff that plays in the right key, I think that's the most important thing, to have good performance.
Skill performance.
Yeah, that's where it begins, making the sounds.
True that.
And also, it's very important that they do rehearsal before
Yes.
they come to the studio.
Yes.
not when they are in the
I mean,
studio.
I've seen today you can just do. Today you just the drummer doesn't really have perfect rhythm. Well, no problem. We will just do it in Pro Tools and we put it all, and then it sounds like a machine.
Anything left now?
No.
Not the,
There is
I
many
think-
lab, but
no.
it's
Yes.
Gerard and Jurgen, thank you so much for having me over here. I'm amazed by the facilities. We're gonna sign off. I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
I,
bye.
And record over here.